Mama! You want on my lap? Jimmy, come on! Good girl. Good girl. It's the new year, 2025, and this year I would like to do more cosplays. I want to make costumes, dress up, film. I want to work on my shop, and I want to work on my YouTube and social media in general, because I kind of took a little bit of a break last year, just eased up on it. I basically just want to do more of what I normally do this year. That's kind of what my resolution is. So I sent posts out on my social medias asking what kind of cosplays people would like to see me do to get started, and I'm down with that. Somebody suggested I dress up as Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, and I've never heard of her, and I've never seen the movie, obviously, so I found it on YouTube and I watched it and it was really good. So she's my first cosplay that I make my own, because, you know, I've dressed as Link before, but my mom helped me make that costume. For starters, I watched the movie for a little research, and I took a bunch of screenshots of her outfit, and I just kind of like got as many pictures as I could of all sorts of different angles. I put it in my art program, could break it down into simple shapes, figure out how I could make a pattern out of it. So once I kind of sketched out the costume to get it up in my brain, I eyeballed a pattern on my butcher paper and found some, just like a big thing of white fabric that I could use for a mock-up. It required a lot of finagling and made maybe like 2 or 3 different mock-ups, doing slight adjustments here and there. It was really nice having a mannequin there so I could just put it on, cut the shapes out. I'm used to making patterns straight off of my mannequin usually, so they're always form-fitting, and it's really weird how difficult it is to make a pattern of something that isn't form-fitting, that's like kind of loose, and it's weird. I feel like it should be the opposite. So, mock-up, pattern, mock-up, pattern, and just kept doing that till I finally got to something that I felt was okay. Once I was happy with the pattern, I perused all my fabric to find every piece that could serve as fake leather, because obviously I don't want to go and get real leather, and I would like to use what I have before I go out and buy anything, because I have so much fabric that I really don't need to go get more. So I've had this fake leather for so many years. I just went back and looked. I think I've had it since, I want to say like 2013. I've literally had this fake leather for over 10 years, if not 10. We got it when I was younger. My mom made me and my sisters some loincloths so that we could dance around the fire. So I've had this fabric forever, and it's all cut out in patches. Like, I don't have very many big solid pieces. So I looked around for some other options just in case I wouldn't have enough. I really want this fabric to work though, because it matches pretty well. It's the lightest leathery brown I have. Okay, so I have the faux leather that I grew up with, and you know, I don't have many pieces, so I'm thinking I'll sew them together to make some kind of patchwork. But I also have this dark brown leather, which I have a ton of this, but it's very dark, so maybe not, but it's nice. And then this, I've got some zebra print. I don't know if I'll use it for this particular project, but maybe another one. I've got kind of this snaky, shiny leather. Again, really dark. And then I have the it's kitty toast. And then I have this like giraffe print. Yeah, I think it would be kind of silly to do a zebra print because the like Sheena's whole thing is she's blonde white lady raised in the African jungles and she rides a zebra. So if I made her outfit out of zebra print, that'd be kind of like sacrilegious or something. I was thinking I might do the dart and the zebra for another skin-wearing barbarian. But for now, I want to sew these light brown leather pieces together and try my best to fit the pattern pieces on it. I laid out my pattern pieces and then I kind of like puzzle pieced the chunks together in a way so that I could sew them. And every time once I figured that out, I took them in my sewing room one at a time and just sewed them together really quick so that I had basically just a really close fitting rectangle. Then I cut out the pattern pieces. I poked a couple holes into the top for the sleeves and the front tie. After that, it was just a matter of putting the ties on. Honestly, if I didn't need to sew fabric together, this costume doesn't require sewing. Oh, except for the underwear, but we'll get to that. I didn't really notice a lot of the details while watching the movie on the costume. Ben helped me dissect the details as best we could with the not HD clearest pictures that we had. Really had a hard time figuring out what the front was. Like, was it sewed? Was it tied? I couldn't really tell, and I was like, do I need to sew it? If I sew it, then there's no way I can just open it up and put it on. I'd have to make sure it like fits over my head. Ben was able to look at the pictures more closely, and he figured out that it was kind of like a corset. So like a string of leather was weaved through and then just tied, and the tie was hidden or something. So that's what I did. I poked, I think, 3 holes on each side and didn't have them line up perfectly. They were kind of off center. And that way when I threaded them together, it was kind of like a zigzag when I would pull it tight. So I didn't really talk about the bottoms that much, but that, I cut out a rectangle of mock-up, just wrapped it around my waist, and I took a piece of chalk, just sidewalk chalk. I don't have tailor's chalk or whatever. Got a piece of chalk and I just kind of traced the shape while it was on me. Because with my mannequin, I don't know where the belly button is, I don't know where the hips are, or I don't know where the legs are. So it was better for me to put it on myself, actually. So I trimmed that out. Once I was happy with the mock-up, again, I made a pattern. Same thing as the top. I sewed pieces together, and then I cut out the pattern on the patchwork leather. And I think it turned out alright. It would have been nicer to have just solid pieces, but I don't think it's that noticeable or distracting in any way, so I'm okay with it. And then at some point I remembered that I needed to make underwear, because I didn't want to just wear... If I wore regular underwear, it would have showed on the sides, and I didn't like that. So I took some of my underwear, cut open the sides, de-stitched them, whatever, laid it out, made a pattern of that, but instead of having the sides so that when you sew them together you have leg holes, I just made like 2 triangles going up so that it kind of was like a wonky hourglass shape. Giving myself a little extra seam allowance, I folded over the top, sewed maybe like an inch down so that I had a little channel for like the elastic / tie. Then I threaded just like a really long leather strap that I had, same fabric, and threaded it through using a hair bead tool. Yeah, and then tested it out, tied it around my waist, and it worked. Tried it all on, made sure it all fit. And once that was done, it was time for day 3, and I didn't notice this during the entire movie, but Ben noticed it when we were looking at the pictures. Sheena has she's got some big honkin' lion teeth tied to her shoulder strap. Either that or claws, but I think they're teeth. I thought that was really cool, so I wanted to make some of those. At first I thought I could just buy some real teeth, because that's kind of cool to have. But we were looking it up, and it was kind of hard to find, like, I thought it'd be cool to have real lion's teeth, but also it'd be kind of sad, and I don't know if they'd be found, like, taken from the lion ethically, or if... So I was like, okay, well, replicas would be just as good. But when I was looking for replicas, a lot of them were made out of, like, really sketchy materials, so I didn't really want to do that either. So I was just like, well, I've got clay, I can make some. So I just made my own. I recently learned of this technique to sculpt aluminum foil by lightly crumpling up, catching as much air as you can, and then just taking a regular kitchen spoon and carving away at it and like kind of shaping it like that. If there's like some bits that need more, then you just add a little hot glue and stick on some more, and then you just keep carving away. And by carving, it's more just shaping, because the tinfoil doesn't come off, it just kind of crumples into the shape that you want. So once I liked the shape, I got some of my polymer clay, warmed it up, and then just ran it through my clay pasta machine, and I just wrapped it nicely with a thin layer of clay and sculpted away. I didn't really have a lot of room for mistakes or too many details because the layer of clay was pretty thin. I was able to do some like deep grooves along the tooth, and like I had the tooth and then I added like a bulbous top to where it would be like if you found a deceased lion and it's still, you got the tooth but it still had some bone in it, and that way the shape would allow it so that I could wrap it with leather and it wouldn't just slide off. On the very top I used a wire texture brush and just kind of roll it over the top so that it had like that porousy bone texture, because freak, bones are intricate. They have so much texture. And again, once I was happy with the shape, preheated my oven to like 290 to use 275, but my oven runs a little bit cold. It runs like about 15 degrees lower than it says, so I usually up mine a little bit. Yeah, 290, internet says 275 Fahrenheit for about 15 to 20 minutes, so when 15 minutes passed, I took it out, checked it, poked it with my fingernail, determined if it was done or not, and the way I check is if you stab it with your fingernail lightly, and it makes just a little indentation, but it kind of like resets back to where it was, that means it's done. Then it's time to paint. First I got my gesso so that the paint would have something to stick to. I probably should have done a thicker layer of gesso, but I didn't want to lose any of the detail in the upper part with the porous bone, so I just did a really light brushing. And while I was doing this, I realized that I'm always spouting like, ooh, to make shadow you just add a little bit of the opposite color into the paint and it makes a really nice shadow, and I've never actually done it, I don't think. It's not that I add black either, it's like I usually add brown or something. I had this orangey color and I was trying to make a dark base, and I'm like, how do I make it darker? And then you add the opposite color. So since I had this like orangey tone, I added a little bit of the cyan blue. Yeah, that was perfect. That made the best brownish orange, nasty aged tooth color. Painted the whole thing that, filled in all the gaps with this dark orangey brown. Then I waited for that to dry, used a lighter orangey color and dry brushed over, avoiding the gaps so that you could still see the dark brown underneath. Just added yellows and whites and a watered down orange to vibrant it up, and because yeah, those lion's teeth, they're pretty yellow, pretty orangey. And yeah, it's always hard painting something 3D that you have to hold because it gets really messy, and how I wished that I just had on like a little stand that I could turn the stand, but no. Once it was dried, I was happy with the paint. I covered it in a matte decoupage slash Mod Podge. Thought about doing a shiny, but I thought the matte worked better because it's like an aged bone that hasn't been in a wet mouth for a long time. Had some more strands of the faux leather fabric and found the longest one I had, and I wrapped them up on both ends, and I will tie them to my costume when I'm ready to dress up. Yeah, for some reason it was like, oh, I'm done, I made the costume, see ya, and I forgot I have to actually do the dress up and take pictures. Time to film! So here is me getting ready. I tried to do my makeup, like the contouring, a little bit like Tanya Roberts. I don't know if it worked, but I think it turned out okay. Give myself a little bit of a butt chin. And yeah, like wrapping up all my hair and putting it up in a wig is so weird. There's always like a big lump in the back, so I just have to accept it. Ben was saying, oh, you could just use your normal hair, and I'm like, but she's blonde. I'm not blonde. I think it would be fine to use my normal hair, but I wanted to wear a wig for this. Yep, so I did my makeup, got my hair on, got all costumed up, tied my teeth to my sleeve, and then it's time to go outside and take pictures. And oh, it's snowy. And here's a little bit with my actual hair. Basically, when I was done with the costume, I realized that some things were on the opposite side. Like the sleeve should have been switched, I think, and then like the long side versus the short side of the shirt were on the wrong sides. And it's okay. It's fine. Doesn't bother me that much. It's just kind of like, oh. And it sucks too, because like while I was making it, I kept saying, I'm having such a hard time it keeps mirroring itself in my brain, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this sleeve is on the left side, the length is on the left side, but is it on the right side? I can't remember. Even though I had pictures and I had plenty of time to test it out, I'm pretty sure I did get a lot of the things backwards, but it's okay. It's just a leather shirt and a loincloth, it's fine. Also feel like the top could be a little bit tighter. It was kind of loose. I don't know if I'll fix that. I think it's okay. I also would like to do another photo shoot in the spring or in the summer when it's green and warm. Maybe I'll go to the lake and climb a tree or something. So hopefully I'll get that done as the seasons pass. Yeah, I want to do that again, but like barefoot. And if I can find a good tree to climb, I'd love to climb a tree. It's been a long time since I've climbed a tree. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my first official that's my first official cosplay, I believe, and it was really fun, and I can't wait to move on to the next one. I think my next one will be a Princess Zelda, Twilight Princess Zelda. I want to make like a swimsuit inspired by her outfit, but also I want to make her outfit. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. If you have any ideas for me, please tell me. Thanks for watching.